our Blackboard equivalent, and also embed it into teaching and learning curriculum over the next couple of years. I decided to do a Blackboard platform for this because of the accessibility for staff, also succession planning for other staff to take over this initiative when I'm ready to move on from it. So, today I'm going to present to you job readiness in 3 different sections. The first is employability. What is it and why is it important within the context of undergraduate nursing students, also within the context of the School of Nursing and Midwifery at Western Sydney Uni. Next I'll be presenting to you, the Job Readiness Program, an overview of it, the different phases and how I have used Blackboard in the first phase, which is the self-directed student learning and professional development. Then finally, I'll be following up as Blackboard as the platform to engage, how the Views site has been used by students, how they engage with it, and what's the student experience. So, employability. What is it and why is it important? So, employability can be broadly defined as a set of skills, understanding, personal attributes that make graduates more likely to gain employment and be successful in their chosen occupations. The development of embedding an employability program into higher education curriculum design is a necessity, as employment is the focus of students after the end of their academic course program. There is a growing need for higher education facilities to comprehend and prioritise the concept of employability specific to nursing and midwifery students as a whole of student approach, rather than limiting a student's success on clinical skills and experience. This has happened quite often where we value a student's clinical skills and experience more highly, and now when our nursing and midwifery students are going for their job interviews, potential employers are actually looking for more than just that. They're looking for students to have the ability to empathise, to have the ability to critically think, and to have the ability to understand clinical reasoning. So universities can be principally guided by employability frameworks to help shape and embed graduate employability into curriculum design and execution. So I looked at our Securing Success 2018 to 2020 values. At Western Sydney, to be a distinctly student-centred university, we need to offer a range of pathways that emphasise excellence and opportunity for career preparedness, continue to build on the capacity of staff to support students as active participants by strengthening career preparedness and employability, develop more employment-based and volunteer programs and experiences that promote personal development, industry and civic employment and career readiness, and to provide accessible, personalised support services that meet students' learning needs to all stages of their study. This is what has actually framed the context of job readiness now, since it's in its 3rd year. So, at Western Sydney University, I was explaining to the gentleman before, we are one of the largest nursing schools in the Southern Hemisphere. We have about 5,500 Bachelor of Nursing students across Western Sydney. That includes 4 face-to-face campuses, and we actually offer it online now as well. So we have a lot of students that are undertaking our Bachelor of Nursing program. Our students represent 107 countries. We have 76% of our students domestic, so that's nearly 25% international. We have first in family. We have nearly 50% of our students first in family, and I really like the fact that we're first in family at Western Sydney University, because I'm first in family as well. I'm also an alumni of the School of Nursing and Midwifery at Western as well. So this is really a project and program that's really close to my heart. So the Job Readiness Program, phase 1 is self-directed learning via our Blackboard platform, which is Views. So phase 1 is knowing, so the steps in preparation for graduate employability, the Job Readiness Views site. In that phase 1 as well is the preparation of students. Now this happens and starts within the last year of their study, around about March. For nursing and midwifery students, it takes around about 6.5 months to obtain employment from the start of actually preparing for employment. So getting their CVs together, looking at selection criteria, that's either New South Wales Health driven or by private hospitals. Then they apply through a main consortium for public health in the July. Then they're notified of their interviews in the August. They have their interviews and they're notified late September, early October of their jobs. So it takes a long time and a big part of their preparation in their final year of study. And it's additional to this study as well. So it's a very stressful situation for them. We have a Graduate Employment Expo, which has been successfully SAF-funded through Western Sydney University for the past 2 years. I conduct online webinars through the Views site as well, which have been highly successful. These webinars look at CV writing, how to respond to selection criteria, and how to write cover letters. Considering that majority of our students are mature age, some of them have never written a CV, some of them are coming from childbearing years, and they have been a stay-at-home mum. Majority of our nursing population is female-based, so it's still around about 86% of nurses in Australia, of which is about 350,000 of us are female. Phase 2 of the Job Readiness Program is an embedded teaching and learning initiative. So I've now embedded this into a capstone unit for them, and it's a continuation of that self-directed learning through that Views site. The first of phase 2, the first step is the interview preparation. That's where I do online interview training through the Views site, in addition to face-to-face interview practice in this capstone unit. I also do the values-based preparation as well, so empathy and resilience training with face-to-face learning, but also followed up through the Blackboard platform, Views. Then we do masterclass sessions where I actually develop relationships with our external partners. Majority of them are public health, so our local health districts. They come in, they actually do structured face-to-face workshops for our students, but also I collect this and I record every session and I add it to the content repository of the Blackboard platform Views. So at Western Sydney University, the Student Experience Survey is part of the quality indicators for learning and teaching, which is a suite of national surveys in which the university participates every year. These surveys help the university improve learning and teaching outcomes while benchmarking our performance in comparison to other institutions. So overall, as you can see, this is specific to nursing and midwifery at Western. Careers advisor availability, career advisors helpfulness, and work readiness developed by course, we have steadily increased since 2015, and I can safely say since the inception and the application of Job Readiness. So Blackboard as a platform to engage our students. So this is what the Views site looks like. At the front there you can see there's a lot of video content within this site. Students, I find it very, very helpful to watch things, especially when there's closed caption available as well and they can download the narrative. But the key to the success of the Views site is actually the simplicity of it. It's not complicated and it's all self-directed. So with clear communication through announcements, students then access this information themselves, especially in phase 1. Phase 1, this is not a unit of teaching and learning. It is purely a unit, it's purely a Views site that's informational and just a repository of resources for our students. As you can see, going through each of the tabs on the left-hand side, I have tabs for getting organised, when on clinical placement, which is one of the most popular tabs that students actually engage in. Also, starting your application and interview preparation. So not only reinforcing what's on there, the students actually get weekly reminders through the calendar option as well on Blackboard. So they'll get a reminder in their calendar saying, have a look this week at interview preparation tab, or have a look at in getting your interview preparation ready. I've also embedded direct links to the websites as well, so it really is just a one-stop shop for students to come to and access industry-specific information in regards to their employment and employability. So how do students engage with Job Readiness Views site? So in 2017, the Views site was only open for 6 months. Within that 6 months, it was available to just under 1,000 students. So we had 11,000 hits on the site. And that's continuing from the data that was the data and analytics that we were speaking about this morning. I think it's really helpful feedback, and really great to actually understand what the students are accessing and at what times. In 2017, again, it was only open for a short period of time, open to about 1,100 students, having 14,000 hits on the site. And then in 2019, it's steadily growing. It's at about 18,000 now, hits for just this year. So it's a resource that students engage with quite often, but also it's just self-directed, and this is the whole point of Job Readiness. Having a view site or a Blackboard platform that they actually obtain information from when and as needed is really helpful for them transitioning from undergraduate to new graduate. Discussion boards, again, is another key engagement strategy with our students. I've just conducted an online engagement survey, and it seems that our minority cohorts, such as our international students, actually want to engage with discussion boards more frequently. That is their way to actually communicate with us instead of doing it via face-to-face. So the discussion boards have been highly engaging with our students. Also the embedded third-party discussion boards like Padlet, and having that instantaneous feedback to our students as well. I've had student feedback, both quantitative and qualitative, and unsolicited feedback through emails, of which I have won a Western Sydney Teaching and Learning Award last year for contributions to student learning and teaching. Student participation, webinars are probably the most frequented. We've had about 10,000 instances where students have participated over the last 3 years on webinars. So webinars are a really interesting way to engage our students by not forcing them to come to a face-to-face workshop, and having the accessibility and the availability of actually engaging with the workshop and with what we have to offer online. Online forums, Zoom enabled, and face-to-face workshop recordings. So, Job Readiness Views student feedback. Overwhelmingly, 92% of students surveyed agreed very much that the Views site had enhanced their overall student experience in their final year of study, which actually took my breath away a little bit. One of the students said, "The content of the Job Readiness site has given me a deal of support and provided a roadmap to negotiate the path to my career." A second student said, "The Job Readiness Views site is an ultimate and most trusted tool I use to get the right information and support I need in preparation for my grad start interview." And then finally, "It was valuable having somewhere central to go for information, help or guidance on the transition process, especially leading up to the TPP, which is the transition to practice interviews. Out of all units this semester, I have gotten the most out of this Views site, which is really, really interesting when it's self-directed learning and not a forced unit of content. What I'm most proud of is our outcomes for graduate preparation and employability. So we've had a 30% increase in students gaining an interview in certain local health districts in Western Sydney over the past 2 years. We had a 10% increase in our students that received a ranking of 3, ranking scores from 5 to 1, with 5 being the highest interview ranking to receive, and while maintaining the proportion who received ranking 5 and ranking 4. In one LHD in particular, who we've partnered with quite strongly in regards to interview preparation especially, we had a slight increase in the students that were applying. It went from about 210 to about 260 applicants, but the increase for interviews that were offered to those students increased from 70% to 98%. So nearly every single student who applied in that LHD were successful in obtaining a job interview. Unfortunately, graduate outcomes survey doesn't quite capture the information when it comes to graduate employability after our university or after they've finished their degree with us. So hopefully, moving forward, this program will actually be written up as a framework, and we're looking at implementing it at other universities across Australia. So having a really structured way in which we can embed employability and the importance of offering our Bachelor of Nursing and Midwifery students the opportunity for further professional development and enhancement in higher education. Thank you.